This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on Facebook and subscribe to WPSL TV when you're on YouTube, too, because that's where you'll find the archives of the African American scene, presented each week at this time by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie and hosted by Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Okay. I will tell you that there's certainly a lot of things going on out here in the world right now. Endless supply of things. I will tell you, I finished reading the book, White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. Pretty interesting book. And because there's been so much talk about Marxists, I reread the Communist Manifesto, which I had not read since college, just to make sure that I would understand exactly what I was talking about. And as usual, after reading it, the term Marxist is being used like a four-letter curse word to defile the Black Lives Matter movement. So, but let me start here. I've been promising you for a couple weeks. I was going to get to this letter from Steve because it's important, because I think it will give you some insight into why we have the problems that we have. Now, let me give you some backdrop on this. It has been my experience that frequently people have used Christian verbiage to belittle and demonize people, non-white people, and they do so in by using the Bible, much the way that the KKK did when they created the Ku Klux Klan as a Christian organization. I hope all of you know the Ku Klux Klan was created as a Christian organization, thus why the burning cross is a burning Christian symbol. Okay, so let's get that straight. So that is a fact, hard, cold fact, that oftentimes the use of the Bible and Christian principles are used to demean non-white folks. Now, I'm going to share, I can't read all of it to you because it's just too long, but I'm going to share some parts which I think you'll find very interesting. This one section he puts down, and let me give you his disclaimer. He says he does not agree with either group, and he got that underlined, triply underlined, that he does not agree with either group. But here is what he does. He gives a statement by white supremacists, then he follows it by what he feels is a corresponding statement by liberal progressive Democrats. I'll let you decide after you hear these statements. Statement number one, white supremacists. Blacks are genetically inferior. Liberal progressive Democrats. Blacks need, I want you to hear this again now, blacks need whites to help to make them better than they are. That is his parallel to statement number one by white supremacists. Statement number two. Black house, little or no control, blacks have little or no control of their sexuality. That's white supremacists. Blacks have little or no control of their sexuality. Liberal progressive Democrats' response. Black girls need abortion on demand to keep them from destroying their lives. That's his parallel statement. Statement number 3. Blacks, white supremacists, blacks cannot think for themselves. Liberal progressive Democrats. Those House blanks, he's talking about House black people, those Uncle Toms, those Oreos, they are not really blacks. They are traitors. That's his parallel statement. Oh my God. Number 4, white supremacists. Even if you give blacks things, they won't use them for the better. Liberal progressive Democrats. Blacks don't need handouts. They need someone else's hand to pull them up. That's the corresponding statement. Cliff, don't look. You see, I'm reading it off the paper. I ain't making it up. Number 5, white supremacists. They can't learn English. Liberal progressive Democrats. Blacks have their own language and word meanings. Whites must respect it and accept it.
A different language or dialect? Rudy, I've got some divine revelation for everybody. There is a master race, and Rudy's part of it. Do you know what that master race is? It's the human race, and there's only one human race.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Here's the last one. White supremacists. Blacks are so dumb they can't get IDs. Liberal progressive Democrats. Blacks will be disenfranchised if they have to have IDs to vote. So there you have it. Now, let me repeat his disclaimer from the beginning. He does not agree with the white supremacists, and he does not agree with the liberal progressive Democrats. But that is his interpretation of what liberal progressive Democrats say in the face of what white supremacists say. Now, let me read this one final section because I think it's kind of important. And he says, it's hard to make sense of these things. Okay? Now, listen to these things that he said it's hard to make sense of. Diversity is a good thing. You can't know how I feel. You offend me.
By claiming that you feel me. You feel, somebody tells you, I'm with you, Rudy, on it. But I couldn't say that because I haven't experienced what it's like to grow up as a black man in the United States of America.
Well, he's saying that doesn't make sense. And then I'm going to give you the last one. Okay. Then we're going to be done with this. This is another one of he can't make sense of. You need to be forced to accept me. Now, let me just make this very clear.
Well, wait, if we're all equal, then we'd have to be forced to accept everybody.
Well, yes. But believe me, whether you accept me or not, I couldn't care less.
It doesn't change who you are.
Not one iota. I could care less if you think that my black skin is offensive to you. That you live with that. That's not my problem. That is your problem. That's not my problem. Because your white skin don't offend me. So if you are offended by the fact that I have black skin, too bad for you. But I ain't claiming that. You're going to have to claim that because I have nothing to do with that. That's your burden to bear. And so accepting me is just insane. I could care less whether or not you accept me. Okay, enough of that. But I wanted to get that out there. So just reading those things. Now, and let me say this to you. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I think he is a person that honestly believes in Christianity and those things that he has told me he feels are Christian-centered things.
Well, they're more doctrine-centered.
Yes, of course.
Local doctrination from, yeah.
They're off the base, but I'm going to say, I do believe that he thinks those things are righteous things to think. Now while we're on this too, and the phone number is 340-15.
Oh, yeah, this is a call-in show, folks. If you feel compelled to call in and make a comment or ask a question, you're welcome to do so.
Yes, so if you want to comment about that, I wanted you to read that because I wanted to read that to you because I think that what I read is indicative of a problem that exists in this country that we have to get beyond. For somebody to be able to think like that, who considers themselves a good, solid Christian person, is really a problem. He's just like off the base there. And when one of those things he said is, "You don't know how I feel?" I don't know. He can't get that because he doesn't have the capacity to be able to put himself in another person's situation, because that's what you have to do when you really want to understand somebody. You have to be able to put yourself in that situation so you can understand the emotion that person may be going through. And that phone number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. And while we're on this, I'm going to throw this out there at you. One of the letters, he gave me a lot of scripture to read, and I read every single scripture. And it drove me to ask this question. If you are a Christian and you believe in Christianity and the things that are in the Bible, how do you reconcile that with supporting Donald Trump? Can you help me with that, please? Because I'm trying to understand. I need to know. I know you're somewhat of a knowledgeable person about the Bible. I don't know how you reconcile the two. So I'm willing. Hey, listen, call up and give me your point. I'd love to hear how you reconcile what the Ten Commandments say and how God says we should live our lives, and that with the man in the White House, and how you can be all in on that and support him 100%. Okay, now.
You got to remember that Jesus was not a Christian.
Right. Okay, so now let's talk about this for a second. I would like to, and I would imagine some people are going to call up and they're going to be pretty mad at me, and that's okay. You can be mad all you want, but call up and have your stuff together when you talk to me, because if you don't, I'll make you feel bad. So
it'd be like going to a gunfight with a knife.
Yeah.
If you don't bring some facts with you.
Right, exactly. Hey, yes, Winnie. How are you?
How you doing over there?
Okay.
That's good. Good. Yeah, yeah, Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris. Handsome for
Yeah.
handsome for both of them. Handsome for both of them. Yeah, and I hope they win.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you mean
Yeah.
it? So you mean to tell me?
But anyway, I don't know how true it is. Really, if I do tell Joe Biden, he got dementia, so I don't know this. They just probably talk and stuff like this here and everything.
Hmm.
Anyway, but have a good day.
Okay. Thanks for calling, Winnie. Faithful listener. And we have Steve. Yes, Steve.
Okay, Rudy. You're like you're tearing me apart, aren't you?
I just read what you wrote me, Steve. That's all I did. Did I misstate? Did I misstate anything? Did I did I mi- did I misstate
I don't know
anything?
what's going on. I've got a bad connection here. I'm gonna have to call back.
Okay. All right. So, I I read word for word what he wrote, word for word. Okay. Anyway, so let's talk about. I did a little studying on the history of policing, and I found it kind of interesting. The origins of police go back to 1838. The first police department, per se, was developed in 1838 in Boston. Okay? Part of the reason why the police was developed was supposed to be for service. But we got Steve back. Yes, Steve.
Okay, Rudy. Let me make some things perfectly clear. Here, it's just still a bad connection because I'm getting double sound, so I'm going to have to kind of fight through it.
Okay.
You tried to make a statement, well, why would I support Trump? Well, I would support Trump way over Biden.
No, I said, no, that's not what I said. Let me repeat what I said.
Let me,
No, you're going to listen to, I'm going to repeat what I said because I don't want you to take it out of context. I said, if you believe in Christianity and what the Bible says, how do you reconcile supporting Trump in consistency with what you're taught in the Bible?
Okay. If I'm going to support Trump, I have, in this system, I only have really two choices. And I have to choose Trump over Biden. Biden's history is pretty bad. What you need to do is kind of see what all the things that he's done in the past. And here's the thing. You put a question to me of how I could support Trump. I could put the same question to you because, understand, men are not perfect. John F. Kennedy was not perfect. He did not have good character. He was an adulterer. He was a liar. He did a lot of things. Could I support what he wanted to do that was good? Of course. Martin Luther King. He lied to his wife and his family. He was an adulterer. He lied to his congregation. He said he was a Christian. Okay.
Do you know that he lied? Do you know that he lied to his congregation?
Consider yourself a Christian. What I have to say. If you can support him in the same way and erase everything, what did he do? Okay, you go to Donald Trump. It's true that a liar can tell the truth sometimes, and somebody that's trying to be truthful can lie sometimes. Again, the options are, in this election, is Biden and Trump. Before it was Hillary Clinton and Trump. I had to pick the better choice. Do not say that I support Trump 100%. You're making assumptions.
I didn't say that.
Okay. You said, how can I support him?
Yes. How do you reconcile that with your Christian beliefs? The
I
man is a habitual liar. He
Rudy.
lies like people breathe.
Rudy.
He lies like people. He lies like
Rudy,
people breathe.
Rudy, you dominate conversation as you're doing so now.
It's my radio show.
Understand.
Wait a minute. You don't seem to understand that. This is my radio show, not yours.
That's right. And
Okay.
you're saying that you want people to think. Understand, I am thinking. I have read some of the books that you told me to read. Have you read any of the books that I gave you?
I read all those scriptures that you gave me.
Okay, you read all those scriptures.
Yes,
Can
I
you
did.
tell me how you, as a Christian, going to say that you're going to stand with Black Lives Matter and what they're doing right now?
Well, what are they doing right now?
Don't give me that crap.
What are they doing?
Portland, look in Oregon. Look at Seattle. Look 2 nights ago, the kid came back. The guy's on the ground and he hit him in the head. You guys run around and you.
Until the cops stop doing this stuff, the Black Lives Matter is going to be very powerful and prominent. And
Okay,
dominant.
but
I don't care.
Watch
They're wrong.
this. Watch this though. Did you hear what he said? You guys.
Oh, you people.
Right.
You
got,
people.
You got that
You
right.
people. Yeah,
You-
yeah.
You got that right.
There was a famous president
You
that used to say
guys.
stuff like that. Yeah,
You
people.
guys.
You people.
That was such a bigoted, racist statement. But go ahead.
I didn't say you guys, so don't put words in my mouth.
You did say that.
I did not. I said you.
Okay, this is going to be on a video on YouTube tomorrow morning. You can go in there and watch it and listen to it.
You
That's
said you
Steve with the
guys.
beautiful
When I'm
handwriting.
saying, when I'm saying you, if I did say you guys, I'm saying that you have dismissed what is an abomination and accepted for political reasons what you think you want to see. And you're telling me that you try to tell me the same thing. And that's not the case.
Okay. Well, I read, you accused me before of taking you out of context. So I read word for word what you wrote me. So you were not taken out of context. So that's that. And so you have to stand with what you wrote. And I got another caller. So thank you for calling. Danny, yes, sir.
Hey, Rudy, how are you, man?
Okay.
Rudy, I love you. And, you know, there's no right, there's no wrong in this thing. I think when we get into Christianity and we start questioning, that's a loaded gun of what people's beliefs truly are under Christianity. And I think you quote the Bible, so I'm trusting it's the King James Version, hopefully, or maybe it's a different version. But there's only one God. I think we're all in agreement, right?
Yeah.
So I just look at this and see, I hate to see debates go where, you know, rudeness and lack of respect starts to be chimed, and that's our nature, right? I'll just go back quickly to Adam and Eve. It was a beautiful scene. It was a beautiful garden. They made a choice, and they disobeyed, and sin entered the world real quick. So we have a journey in our lives as Christians to become redemptive in the grace of God, and that comes at different ages, comes at different times for everybody. There is a counted time talked about in Scripture. I'm not going to quote Scripture. I just want to get a point out that this debate isn't really about Trump. You know, his background, his family, when you look at his journey, his successes, his failures, his marriages, his good, bad, and ugly deals. He's our president, and you've got to honor the government that's in place. You don't have to agree with everything, but I don't think I could look in the mirror and say, I'm the best guy in the world, or I have no sin, or I'm the perfect guy. Black, white, Indian, Alaskan, I don't care. It's not about color. We know that. We're in a very pandemic state. And there's a lot of misguided information. It's not about the blacks, it's not about the whites. There's a lot of pain of the past of what the whites have done. I agree. It's sin, it's wrong, but it's been around in the Roman era. It's been around before Christ. And you really got to roll back a lot, I think, Rudy. And you picked some great topics, and you're a great guy. You're a good, God-fearing man. You like to spark the spice with these decisions, but we're in an election year, and it's up to what you believe and who you want to support and the values of what those leaders are portraying that either go contrary to the word, the commandments, or they are exactly what the word says. So it's tough. We don't have one leader. I don't think I've met one leader in my life, and the only one I have is Christ, is Jesus. No sin. And, that's a beautiful story in itself. So, we got to pray. We got to pray for our land. We got to pray for our brothers and sisters. And we're all in this together. So we need to join hands and find some resolution on a place of forgiveness, love, and grace. Love being paramount. So that's all I want to say, Rudy.
I have nothing to disagree with you about. Absolutely nothing to disagree with you about. But let me just give you an example, real quick, and then I'm going to move on because I like the way you ended that because that's beautiful.
Thank you.
If we truly believe what we've been taught, and people have served their time, and they are nonviolent offenders being released, why do we have to strip them of everything that would help to make them whole? I don't think that's not what I'm taught in the Bible.
No, you're right, Rudy. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And, everybody has a chance. And I've got to tell you, the revival that's happening in the prison systems, the revival that's going on with young men, women of all color, it's a beautiful thing.
Okay, yeah.
But they have to get there. They have to make a choice. And they have to be seasoned and ready. Many don't want to come out. Many like that world, that life. Choices have, decisions have choices. Choices have results, good, bad, or ugly. So I agree with you, Rudy. We got to change. We got to rehabilitate. We got to love. We got to provide. And we got to get in the Word, man.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate you.
Rudy.
Okay.
Love you.
Yeah. Thank you, man. That was nice. That was really nice. That was a very positive call. Listen, so let me go back now. Did a little research. First police department started in 1938. Okay. And it was formed in Boston. Prior to the actual formal formation of the police department in Boston, there were hundreds of people that had been, quote unquote, deputized to track down runaway slaves. And they were captured and brought back to the masters. And in some cases, people were captured who were never slaves and brought to masters. So that's a fact. So what was the purpose of the police initially? Today you hear it says to protect and serve, but really the police were created to maintain social order. They were designed initially to create social order, to protect rich white folks' property from people who were not correct in the society. And then in the North, they were created to try and quell any union strife that came up. Yes, Nick, on line one.
I had a question.
Okay.
Would things be different if the phrase Black Lives Matter was Black Lives Matter too, as in also, as in, hey, we're not getting a fair shake here. Our lives matter too. And the reason I'm saying that might have been the more accurate depiction, because it drew out the Blue Lives Matter, which makes Black Lives Matter people angry, the All Lives Matter, which has the same effect. I think there is a perception by some that when those who say Black Lives Matter without Black Lives Matter too, that there is a perception that says only Black Lives Matter.
Yes, I'm familiar with that argument. In fact, I had a large debate with some of my friends about 3 years ago about that exact term. But what precipitated that is that where we are is a continuing, ongoing search for fairness and equal justice.
Agreed.
And the frustration is, and I think part of it has been created by the public at large. Colin Kaepernick took a knee. That was a non-violent protest making a statement. You literally killed him. They killed him. They drove him out of the league for making a non-violent statement. Now we have all kinds of chaos and confusion, but when he was doing that, that was offensive. And for me, Nick, let me just say this. One of the things I've really struggled with in the last 5 or 6 years, what is an acceptable form of protest? Do you get to decide what is acceptable protest and what's not?
My initial thought on that is, was it appropriate? Now, I'm a veteran, but I do understand that, First Amendment is, hey, that's all fine. Was it appropriate to do during the national anthem, whereby we are setting praise for our country, not for all the bad we've done, but for how far we've come, and that Colin Kaepernick chose to take a political stance, it became political, but he chose to take a stance while his employer was forced to bear the brunt of his actions, such that if I worked for you, and I love what you do for a living, by the way, if anybody needs insurance, call Rudy. If I worked for you and I started doing things that were maybe unappreciative at work, would you ask me to leave?
Well, I understand your point, but do you know where he got the idea from?
It certainly wasn't me or several 100,000 of my military friends who.
You're wrong. You're wrong, because he got the idea from a friend of his who was a veteran, who he discussed what was the most positive way to protest without being disruptive. And the veteran told him, take a knee.
Well, I'm certain there are lots of veterans who would disagree with that, and I think there are other veterans. I don't know.
Well, just look at. Do me a favor. Do me a favor.
Drew a lot of attention to the thing as well. But why couldn't he have chosen to, instead of interrupting the whole NFL and other sports as well now, why couldn't he have just taken time on the television? I'm sure he could have had a whole hour or 2 hours to himself to express these views. And they would have obviously welcomed it, as much as it's welcomed now and promoted now. Why did it have to be? I watch football to get away from this nonsense. Not that it's nonsense, but I watch football, I watch baseball, I watch basketball. I don't want to see any of this political statements. I want to watch football because it's what gets me away from everything.
I
understand the point you're making,
And I respect the point that you're making. I'm a veteran too, but the point is what. See, here's the thing, and I know you don't mean this, and because I can tell you're an honest, sincere guy. What is acceptable protest? But and so now, when I ask you what's acceptable protest, do you get to decide what is acceptable protest, or do we get to decide what is acceptable protest?
Well, the norms of society and good taste and matter of what you do and how you choose to do it, I just feel that for a privileged athlete such as Colin Kaepernick, who I'm sure everybody knows he did not grow up in a slum, he grew up wealthy.
Okay.
And his privilege over other people's privilege, such as my privilege, he was much more privileged than I will ever be. And he, like all these other athletes that are multi-millionaires, why are they complaining? Is it possible that they were not playing Colin Kaepernick
wait, you don't understand
compared
why
to the other quarterbacks?
You don't understand. You don't understand why he was complaining.
Follow what his shoe size is. Some people really do are really that technical.
But Danny, you really don't understand why he protests?
On the top level of, hey, you can't do this to him.
No, that's not why he protests.
No, I know that, but
you see, he listen. You may not like him.
That's okay. I don't know him.
I know, but you have to have respect for him because he put it all on the line. He put millions of dollars at risk to make a point, and that is courageous. That is, there's not many people who are making millions of dollars and would risk it in order to make a point. And he did that. and you have to acknowledge that. And Danny, I got other calls, but thank you, sir, for calling. I appreciate you.
Wonderful day again. Buy your insurance from Rudy.
Thank you, sir. Jay.
Oh, good afternoon, Rudy.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Okay.
I guess this guy never heard of John Carlos and
Tommy Smith. Yes, I know. I was getting ready.
Jim Brown and Bill Russell and Muhammad Ali. I get. We can go back to protests, and that was that was protests also. But it would seem like it was a long time before athletes had the guts that they had to stand up for what they believed in and to stop the brutality and the racism in our community. And it just goes on and on and on. And it's so sad that all he did, and I'm a veteran myself.
I know you are.
I served in the war, and I'm glad I came back out in one piece. A lot of my friends didn't. But if we have a right, if we're being misused or not treated right as a people, we have a right to protest as American citizens. And when you talk about those people that's incarcerated, the Constitution would make sure that they wrote it up that once with those Confederate states, when they wrote the Constitution, they made sure they put in there if you're a prisoner, you lose all your rights and everything. And so the southern states like Florida, they use that in the election thing, so they can't register to vote. You lose your citizenship to vote. And that's the way the southern states operated for a long time. It just changed. The people woke up here, but then you got the leaders in Tallahassee that wanted to make it where you had to pay to vote.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why people are pooling their money together to pay these fines so these young men and women can vote like everybody else in this country. They should be, the people in Tallahassee should be ashamed of themselves. But that's what they do, and that's why voting is so important. And that's why I think this next election, we're going to have a record turnout, even with them trying to destroy the post office. I believe we're going to have a record turnout because people are they're tired of it. And Black Lives Matter is exactly what it says. Black Lives Matter. There's no, you can't dance around it. You can't try to change it or figure out, well, I'm white. Why can't they say white? Because you're white privilege. You've been having that ever since you've been here on these soils. And that's what you live by. So when this older generation dies out, I think the younger folks going to change a lot of that. And that's what they're afraid of, the change. Thanks a lot, Rudy.
Thanks, Jay. And we got Jeff on line 2. Yes, sir. Where'd Jeff go? Jeff?
Well, I hear about a lot of things, and I say to myself, I lost a third of my relatives back in the 1800s fighting against slavery.
Okay.
A third. I lost great-grandparents. I lost, a lot of, and everybody seems to think that just because the Democratic Association with the South, because that's what the South did. And this is what I don't understand. Are we so denying that? I don't, it just behooves me to think that.
Denying what? What are we denying? Make your point. I'm not sure. You saying, what are we denying?
Well, you're denying that there's black people need reparation. I watched a guy on TV the other night say that he wants money reparation from some big bank. The Black Lives Matter organization that's headed by 2 women, and the black guy that was on TV, I don't know his name, but he wanted reparation from the banks. He wants money to be paid to.
Well, let me say this to you. I don't know if you knew this or not. Did you know that the slave owners got reparations?
They did? Did Kamala Harris?
No. I'm saying, did you know that slave owners received reparations on a bill that Lincoln signed in 1862 that allowed up to $300 per slave to be paid to slave owners for loss of their property? Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, well, look it up.
Was Kamala Harris's family paid that?
I don't know. I don't know about her.
They were slave owners. They were slave owners in Jamaica.
Well, I'm not. I can't disagree with you because I don't know if that's true or not true.
You better look that up. You're going to be.
So what difference does that make with the state?
She comes from.
Well, what difference does state?
And I don't understand. I don't understand how we can sit there and you had a man stand up there with the leader of the Ku Klux Klan and hold his hand up in the air, and you guys are going to roll behind him? I don't understand that.
Okay. You're talking about. No, I don't have to look it up. I don't have to look it up. You're talking about Robert Byrd.
Everybody wants to vote for him now?
Oh, are you saying you're talking about Robert Byrd, right?
Yes.
Robert Byrd repented. He said what he did was wrong. So should we still kill him after he admitted that he made a mistake and he shouldn't have ever been a part? Wait a minute. If he repented, said what he did is wrong, and he never should have been a part of that, do we accept that or not?
With the Civil Rights Act he wasn't a part of?
No. Robert Byrd was a member of the Klan. I know what you're talking about. And he repented.
Like that.
Huh?
If Trump had voted against the Civil Rights Act, he would have it all over the news.
Trump has done so many things against, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But thank you for calling. I got another caller. And we got Chuck on line 1. Yes, Chuck.
Hey, Rudy. Good evening.
Good evening.
In deference to Jay, there goes that echo, and I don't have the phone around me. Radio around me.
It's not on the air.
Anyhow, in deference to Jay, Black Lives Matter does not mean what it says. It only wants to use black lives that are lost to white cops. It is a Marxist organization.
Tell me what a Marxist is. Tell me what a Marxist is.
A Marxist is a communist.
Okay, tell me what do Marxists believe?
Beg pardon?
Tell me what Marxists believe. See, because I've been hit with that so much, I went back and I reread the Communist Manifesto by Marx and Engels a few weeks ago. So tell me really what a Marxist is.
Well, the three ladies that founded Black Lives
No. Tell me what a Marxist is.
have a video showing
I looked for that video. I couldn't find it.
Marxist train. It's on YouTube. You can dig it up anywhere you want.
There is. Tell me what a Marxist is, though. What is a Marxist?
A Marxist is a communist. It matters on what, whether it's a Leninist, a Marxist, a Maoist, or a Stalinist.
I think the real question is, what is repentance?
Only certain people run things. Everybody else has to do whatever the state says or vote the way the state tells them. There's only one party, and there's only one government, which you have to do, and they control the businesses and everything else, unlike what we have in our republic.
Is there only one democracy? Is there only one democracy like America? Is there any other?
We're not a democracy. We're a republic. Get it straight.
Okay. Are there any other people out there that preach democratic or democratic values?
Sure they do.
Who else?
Who else?
Canada?
Well,
Britain?
Canada,
Britain? France?
Europe. Sure.
Are all of those different than United States? They all have slightly different forms of government than the United States. Is that correct?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Oh, so
we are a constitutional republic.
I got you. I got that. Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make is you've turned Marxist into a four-letter curse word against liberals. And a Marxist no, you have. It's not just you, it's all conservatives. You turned it into a four-letter. That's why I went back and reread, so that I would be able to be intelligent about being able to debate this. And what a Marxist believes is that the free market is not the answer to all that ails the economy and the best solution for everything that takes place in a government and an economy. That's what Marxism is. And so
who controls what the economy is?
So it's a theory, it's a philosophy, is what it is.
It's a theory of philosophy. You want to tell them down in South America? You want to tell them Cuba?
That wasn't the fault of socialism. That was the form of a dictator. Venezuela failed because they had a corrupt dictator at the head of their government. Matter of fact, if you look at the definition of socialism, he was not anywhere close to what is defined as socialism, because he did a power grab and he had all the money to himself. That wasn't socialist.
All right, well, I got a question. When was Black Lives Matter formed?
I think it was right after Michael Brown, so 2012 or thereabouts.
No, you would be wrong.
Okay. When was it?
It was formed by three ladies at the day that George Zimmerman, a Latino, was acquitted of a young man. I'll just put my...
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin.
Right, yeah.
Yes, it was formed then.
Okay.
One of those ladies is on YouTube video telling an older gentleman that the three of them are Marxist trained.
They are not. Well, okay, you're going to say that.
All right. Well, the ladies.
You're going to say that no matter what. One of the ladies has a master's degree and graduated from UCLA. But listen, you have bought into the conservative mindset that they're Marxists, and that's a way to diminish any value that Black Lives Matter may have to society as a whole. I get it. I understand where you're going. I know where you're going from. That's
No, you
have to try to tear it down, but that's okay. That's your right to do that.
Present you the truth, Rudy. I have always tried to present you the truth.
No, not always, but okay.
No,
okay. So,
but I'll tell you what. Since the first of this year till the end of June, 215 white people died at the hands of the police. 125 black people died at the hands of the police. 54 brown people died at the hands of the police. 160 people labeled as unidentified were killed by the police. So I don't understand what unidentified is, but they come in second.
Armed or unarmed? Do you know that?
Hmm?
Were they armed or unarmed?
You're unarmed.
Armed or unarmed?
No. It does not say. It does not matter.
It does matter.
It was.
It does matter.
Well, there you go. There's the Black Lives Matter theory.
It does matter.
It has to be killed by a white cop.
No. Okay.
So the black lives in Chicago, New York, San Francisco, all over the place, St. Louis, don't count. Your life doesn't count, Rudy, unless you are killed by a white cop.
That's
then
ridiculous.
Black Lives Matter will be all over your name.
That's
having
ridiculous.
Riots
That's stupid.
And protestations
I'm usually pretty open, but that was just a stupid, ignorant statement, and I reject that statement. You know, of course, I care about other people's lives that matter, but you're off now, and we're coming to the end of the hour. And I'm sorry that I had to end on a nasty note, but that was just such an ignorant statement.
See, that's part of the problem. People like to lock horns, and people like to not budge.
Yeah.
In their belief, and sometimes their belief is an error.
Well, it makes no sense. Why would to say that I don't care about any black life unless it's killed by a police officer? That's just a
See, that's the shameful part of this whole thing, because police officers need to be told that Black Lives Matter before they go out to work and kill somebody.
Right.
That might not be armed, but they're not sure if they're armed. But they're scared because he's a big black guy, and man, he's in better shape than I am, and he doesn't eat a dozen donuts all the way to work every day like I do. You know, with the latte, washing it down.
Well, folks, I'd like to say thank you for listening to the African American Scene. Didn't get through all of my stuff, but God bless, be safe, and I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
The African American Scene with Rudy Howard is presented by Howard Insurance. Heard every Wednesday evening in the 6 o'clock hour with archived videos on YouTube. So you can go back and listen to reruns and binge watch the African American Scene on YouTube under WPSL TV. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.